Hello, hi. It's Miriam speaking, and from today, I'm gonna start a series of videos, um, talking about my history of life. Okay, I'm gonna do it um, to be left as a legacy for my grandchildren and grand-grandchildren, and for the generations to come, because I think we people for my generation, we are uh, middle in the middle of something. You are a transition between the old and the new, because I was born just after the Second War, about 4 years after. I was born in 1952. So yes, about 4 years after the Second War. So I am a daughter of transition. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell the story of everything, how it started, and how was my childhood. Um, so my grandchildren and my post grandchildren and grand, can have the have the history of how everything was, where they came from. Okay, I I'm very sorry for my parents not to have the possibility, or the opportunity to. Yes, it was not possible, and yeah, for me it's possible now to live everything taped. So that's what I'm gonna do. Would be very nice if my grandchildren today were able to hear the story of my father, for example, that was, born before the two wars. So yeah, but anyway, it was not possible. You didn't have the technology then, so now you have God. So let's take advantage of it. Yes, and leave a legacy to our future children's grandchildren's, something about how it was when we are here in this beautiful planet. So yes, I was born in 27th of October. It was my birthday some days ago. And that's why I decided to do it, because I'm 69, I'll be 70 next year. So by now, and to my 70s, I will be by then finished this series of videos. So when I was born, the city where my family was living, my mother was called Maria, and my father Euclides. Uh, my grandmother was called Rita Mendonça de Souza, and my grandmother, but that's my mother's side. My father's side was Jovina do Bonfim Borges. I don't have it, no names, nothing resembled their names, okay, in my name. So yes, and the city where I was born was called Annapolis. And when I was born, the city was very small. I don't think they had about 5,000 people on the city where I was born. And the hospital where I was born, that is very interesting. It was called Hospital Evangélico Goiano. Yes. And this hospital was built by a doctor from England. Yes, his name was James Funston, and he studied in London. He did his medical studies in London, and then he found his wife, Dr. Daisy, and then they left to Brazil as a missionary. So he was a doctor, and he was a organist, and his wife also was an organist. So he was the one to, deliver me from my mother, Dr. James Funston. So I was linked to England, to London, by the doctor that delivered me. So I was the firstborn of my mother. And so the city was very small. Everything was very primitive. So for you, uh, children, my children and grandchildren, for you to know, when I was born, we didn't have electricity. Yes, no electricity in the house. Was always with lamps, you know. And I still remember my father lighting the lamps uh, for us in the evening. Yes, sweet memories. The house was big. Our house was big, but our house had a problem when rain, because they rain a lot in Brazil. It's very heavy rains. So when it was raining, you have to put things on the floor because they were dropping water. There is a lot of leak. And the only place that did have any leak was leak water like this from the rain was in my bed, in our bedroom, me and my sister and my brother bedroom, and my father bedrooms. But the living rooms, you always, and the dinner room also is always with something to take the water that was dropping from the ceiling. So my dream as a child was to have a roof, a proper roof on my house. You didn't have. So yeah, it was very, very interesting. And we had wood cooker. It was a wood cooker. It was not even a gas one. It was a wood one. So yes, it was very tough. We didn't have a toilet inside the house, for example. Yeah. So it was very, very primitive way of living. And I still remember, I think I was about 5 to 6 or 7 years old when we had the first electricity in the house, and we had a bulb in the house. Oh my God, it was a party. It was, it was amazing for us. So when you had this, so you had the possibility to have radio in the house, so you can hear no, music, during the day. And my father, when he came home from work, was always listening radio from BBC. He liked to listen the news from the world, because it was about 10 years after the war, so everything was still very fresh. So yeah, my father was always listening to the news from the world. You know what I mean? He was very political. So yes, it was like this when I was born. The radio comes after, and then we moved to another city. And then when we moved to the other city, my father was working. He works in an airport. He was a mechanic, engineer, and so he was working as a engineer on the airport. So because of this job, we are able to have, for example, in our house. I was about probably about 8, 9 when we had the first fridge in the house. First, the first one was a cooker, yeah, a gas cooker. Then came the fridge. It was, oh my god, it was something, from it was about probably 1958, more or less 1958, 1959. So in the 60s, when they got to the 60s, 1960, we moved back to our first town, Annapolis again. And then it started a new phase on my life. I was very creative as a child. So me and my sister, we decided to help the poorest, because we are poor also, but they were poor people than us. So we decided to open a small school in my living room, in my mom's living room, to give to give lessons to the students so they can learn how to read and write. Yes, I think I was about 10 to 12 when me and my sister we decided to give lessons. How they didn't last long, of course. You were a child. Yeah, but then, yes, that's the thing. So by then, Annapolis was a little bigger, probably about 20,000 people then, you know. But yeah, it was very interesting time. So by then, we had just the basic, in the house. You didn't have sofas, for example, didn't have sofa because sofas it was for rich people and you were not rich, so you were very poor. Not very poor, but you were poor. So you didn't have sofa in the house, just chairs and table. So yeah, it was very hard. It was very hard as a child. It was very hard for us because during Christmas, for example, we didn't have presents like today. My dream was to have a doll with a hair. So that was my dream. I was during Christmas time. We went to the city center to look at the the shops with the glass, and then you can see whatever is inside. So yeah, so I was looking at the dolls and desired to have one. Yeah, it was my and today I still buy dolls for my grandchild because I am in love with dolls because I didn't have one when I was small, when I was a child, and that was my dream. So today even my children, when we moved to England, um, Camilla, my daughter, was 5, so I had this habit of buying every Christmas, give her a doll, you know, because I remember the last one I gave to her was bigger than she was. And she had that doll for many, many years with long hair. So that was my way of satisfying my own desire to have a doll when I was young. So yes, that's my first video. I'm gonna stop now because I had a very interesting experience when I was 2 years old. So it is for another video because it was something. Okay, good to talk to you. Tell me what you think about it. Me leaving that history to my grandchildrens. Okay, God bless and keep you safe and you also. Bye bye.